with a darky smile for me.
Darky tooth.
Woo! Crazy, son. Slick. Alright, what? Alright, you know what I'm saying? Stop.
To mute him.
Jason, would your family like to join the podcast? No,
that wasn't the family. That was a White House briefing that I was listening to.
Oh, okay.
It was you.
It was you.
It was you, Austin. It was you the whole time.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Jason comes walking
Damn.
in like gorilla walking. You got no chance. You got no chance. No chance in hell. Yeah. We're missing an angel with the freaking Vince. It's not the same. It's not the same when he's not there.
It's not. We always appreciate when he comes out and does something. We don't appreciate what he does behind closed doors, but, you know, take the good and the bad.
It's the craziest ones. It's like the R. Kellys of the world.
The sweetest angel in prison.
Well, you didn't like that meme where I was like, oh, poor sweet angel R. Kelly, who deserves to be in prison.
Who super deserves to be in prison.
He's exactly where he's supposed to be.
He is.
You know, we should get an album collaboration. I mean, freaking Vince could do a rap song like Macho Man.
Oh, I like that. Start dissing everybody. Yeah.
Then he can do it, do a version where he goes to prison to rap for the audience. And R. Kelly's there, and then he joins. I'm convoluting a plan here where R. Kelly goes through a P redemption.
I like that. A P-redemption,
if you will.
a P-demption, if you will. Sure, yeah. Yeah, I will. Yes.
Stop humoring me.
So you want pushback?
Well, I if you're going to humor me, I want it to be genuine. I don't want this like half energy, like, yeah, we should do that.
Sounds like a good idea, buddy.
It's so cynical and non-genuine.
I'm totally with you there.
You know, Silver, you should stop chasing waterfalls. Just keep to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to.
You can't stop me.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, it's Silver. No, wrong one. Chance weighs in and says, wow, y'all have gone right to the gutter without my influence. Impressive. Well, Chance, if you've listened, like I assume, religiously to this podcast, you'd have known that the last episode where we had a dumb argument about the monsters at the end of the episode, it devolved into us discussing R. Kelly. Don't ask me why, but I won an argument that way, Silver. I'm going backwards.
Duncan boy.
Silver, how's it going? How you recovering since your loss last week?
I've mourned greatly.
Uh-huh.
I'll say that.
Uh-huh.
Our poor Duncan boy.
Uh-huh.
How's it feel, Seth?
Oh my, he's rubbing it in. Look at that. I miss our
Homework,
Duncan boy.
tests, I assume.
Oh yeah, every week. Testing
All day,
every week.
every day. The modern education system. Test to see if you know
That's
things.
what I spend my Saturday doing.
Don't learn things. Just make sure you learn things. Test it.
Yeah.
This is why I didn't go into science.
Well, there's
Look how much money I
credible
make now. Oh.
And everything.
there's credible evidence to suggest that students don't learn from constant testing. But I digress. Ross, how's it going?
Terrible, but you know, it's okay. I soothe my soul with things, so that's fine.
Yeah, Ross has been buying weaponry.
As I do, you know, I got me a trebuchet, and those
French
people
are
in that
gonna-
castle up on that hill are going to pay. So
French are gonna pay. Wasn't it that
Oh,
English king who built one of the largest trebuchets of all time, and then the castle capitulated, and he got pissed off, and he's like, "I'm gonna at least use it," so he launched it once at the walls.
get back
I
in
think
there.
you're right.
Like, well, we did it anyway.
Okay.
We accept your surrender. Jason, how are things?
Pretty good. I've gotten into soapbox racing on YouTube recently.
Oh,
my God.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, hey, there's a soapbox race video on YouTube. You want to check it out? And I clicked on it. I'm like, these guys are nuts. It's really fun.
Is it the Red Bull soapbox racing thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it every
Nice.
year, and it's less about getting the best time and more about the creativity of the soapbox you're doing.
Which is kind of weird. I must say. The fact that they have a pre show before they drive the soapbox racer down the course, and they get judged, and then that goes into account when they get their time at the bottom, and somebody who is the fastest, if they didn't put on a good show, could lose to somebody whose time they beat. Like, okay, but just the fact that they're flying down the hills and their carts are coming apart, and
That's half the fun.
yeah, it's just
It's
a
like-
lot of fun to watch.
It's like that Red Bull event where they try and make some weird contraption to see if it'll fly how far out over the water. And some
And
people
about
just make
90% of them
weird-
just go straight in.
yeah, just for the sake of making something dumb and weird. You know,
Yeah, those ones are fun, but the soapbox racers are just more fun.
you know, for a crappy drink company, I can appreciate them spending their money to sponsor weird sports.
hell yeah.
I've never tried a Red Bull, and from all I've heard, I never want to actually try one.
I have. They're
From what I've
gross.
heard, they don't taste very good.
Yeah, they're pretty nasty. Don't bother.
Much like Silver's personality. Oh,
Oh. Dun,
Jokes
dun,
on you,
nerd.
I agree with you.
Oh. Well, now I'm sad.
my heart will go on.
Uh-huh.
That being it's a special podcast, special as we back the less than
short bus
average short bus up to the internet once again to have a great time. I thought what we should do, seeing as how I haven't queued up whether or not this is going to connect. Oh, it is going to connect. I thought what would be a good thing to do would be to talk about perhaps one of the biggest news, if not the biggest news to come out this week, the James Bond news. And thankfully,
Oh my
we have
gosh.
Ross.
Ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-da.
So
Aw.
Ross, why don't you talk to us about the James Bond news?
So news this week, the Broccolis, notably Barbara Broccoli, as Albert Cubby, rest in peace, has been gone for a while, but Barbara Broccoli has now given control of the 007 James Bond films over to Amazon's MGM Studios for a sizable sum of money. Apparently, it's about $1 billion.
So she sold the rights, and
Mhm.
they now belong to MGM. It's not.
No,
That's my understanding. Yes.
Well, Amazon bought MGM. Well, before I get into this,
Right.
Chance says Red Bull tastes good to me, but my heart issues won't let me drink them. Monster tastes even better. Well, we know you have bad taste.
Yeah, we've known that for some time now. So
And if you just want to go out in a blaze of glory, you can start downing Red Bulls, I guess. Your heart will go on, Chance. Moving on. Shut up, Silver. Moving on. Yeah, so Amazon buys MGM, and they only had the license to distribute the Bond movies, not to make new ones. What was sold to Amazon was the right to produce new movies. And weirdly enough, Miss Broccoli, not that long ago, had crapped on Amazon as a company, but apparently the price for letting this go was $1 billion. So there is a ceiling to how far she's willing to. I hate your company. How about $1 billion hate? And she's like, yes.
What does that sound like? Does that sound like somebody? Somebody else we know, some famous creator, and
a Tolkien,
maybe he's
perhaps?
from the oh, that's a good one too. I didn't even think of that. I was thinking somebody from like the Bay Area of California. One Mr. Lucas, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
Granted, he talked shit after. And he talked smack after he sold it. He's like, "Oh, those white slavers there in Disney."
Well, if you thought they were white slavers, why did you sell your child? It's like, I hate you degenerates. Here's my baby.
Oh, whoops. Uh-oh.
But
I guess that was a mistake.
Yeah. So the conversation inevitably goes to Amazon and their ability to be caretaker of the beloved franchise, which nobody believes that they have the capacity to.
Now this is like giving your baby to a cannibal and saying, here you go, babysit for me.
Well, and then claiming it a victory if they only eat a little bit.
Yeah.
They nibbled a couple of toes. What of it?
Actually, more like the witch from Hansel and Gretel. Here, watch my kids while I go out to the store.
I mean, did anyone have any sympathy for the witch? She burned alive in an oven.
No.
Well, I just thought they could at least do her quickly.
I guess that's true. Like stab her in the heart, then the oven.
Well, it's like, we've overcome this bad guy. Let's torture them. Oh, the good guys have gotten really dark here.
Uh-oh. I think there's a turn happening.
The story got really dark. I mean, it was already kind of dark. At least she's
very German.
At least she eats all of the buffalo. Those kids are not gonna finish her off.
They're not eating all
just,
that candy.
They're shooting the deer and walking away giggling because it was fun.
They're there for the bloodshed, and that's it. By God.
There's.
I mean, Amazon so far has not shown themselves to be good custodians of intellectual properties that have been bestowed upon them.
Or
Their track
purchased
record
for-
right now is so abysmal that
They're
obviously this has been a monetary
Well, and I have a
consideration
question
as
for
opposed
the
to an
quorum.
artistic one.
I have a question for the quorum. So, Lord of the Rings, when they spent a ridiculous amount of money to get some rights to make some Lord of the Rings products, such as the TV show that our favorite, Rings of Power.
uh,
At the time, there was a bit of a stumble with The Hobbit, more New Line Cinema's stuff, but the reality is, they were buying buying into, I should say, a strong property. But then,
Yeah.
what are you buying with James Bond? Because
There's
you know what I'm getting at?
they have already ruined the franchise with Daniel Craig's James Bond run. But there
before you
is
go
a lot
too
of
far,
name recognition with
No.
James
Before you go-
Bond.
before you go too far, two things. James Bond is going to, as Ross mentioned, to out from under the umbrella of copyright in 2035, so not that far from now. And two,
That's
as
true.
much as you might dislike the Daniel Craig movies, they all made bank. They made really good money.
I guess they probably did. They really? They all made money?
Yes, even the last one.
Ooh! Oh my
Wow.
god! What?
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
That is shocking.
So you might
surprised.
say that the Daniel Craig stuff is terrible, which I agree. Some of them, one of my favorite James Bond movies is the Casino Royale. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Casino Royale was pretty good.
But
Yeah,
the
it's one of
last
my
James
favorites.
Bond
Quantum of
movie
Solace wasn't
was
as strong.
terrible. So you could say, oh well, they've done a bad job with the James Bond movies. And it's but they earn money, so they didn't hear you.
Yeah. Sure.
Very true.
Well, and I guess the reality is because, James Bond is going into public domain, but it's not going into public domain, and that is the music. It's Q, Weird Gadget. That's not going into
Well,
public domain. That's
they're buying
the
that.
sole domain of MGM.
For $1 billion, they're buying that and the legitimacy that comes behind it. Chance says that Idris Elba Bond, and I am on board. Well, to be honest, Chance,
No, too
Idris
old.
Elba is, too old. Is also, he has some really goofy takes about knives recently, so I don't think he's very popular at the moment. And he's
I
in
remember
too
that.
much. Yeah. So no, Idris Elba, no.
Also, I don't know if I'd buy him as a 6-foot-tall, dark-haired Scottish man, but maybe I'm just picky.
Just giant Idris
Isn't
Elba.
Shooty Gatwa claiming to be Scottish?
Well, I think newspapers are calling him a Scot, and I guess he grew up there. So, in the nationality
Loosest
sense of the
sense.
word, he is in the way that, some of our great great grandparents were American or whatever, even though they, came on the boat from, I don't know, Hungary or I guess Switzerland or England.
Mine, England, and Switzerland, and yeah.
Oh, I am English trash.
He could say that. He's allowed.
I'm allowed to. Those disgusting limeys. I'm self-loathing.
Well, and they haven't made a Bond movie in a while, and famously, Daniel Craig didn't like them. He didn't like making them. He hated making the James Bond movies.
Yeah.
I wonder, did he ever say why he hated them, making them, or it was just like
The best
this was a bad experience,
clarification.
didn't like doing it?
Well, no, the best clarification we have is that the process of making them was miserable. As far as I could tell.
Which isn't that a similar take to what Sean Connery had back in the day? He was tired of making them.
Yeah, but
I think he might have just been tired of making them, not that he had a bad time. It was just like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this character. I want to move on and do some other things with my life.
Chance says he is as English as the Queen's left tit, which is very English.
It's incredibly English.
I would let you know.
Unless he's referring to the fact that like the House of Windsor came from what was it, Germany to
Up,
begin with?
we don't talk about that. Let's keep moving on. I'm not trying to get to Princess Diana over here, okay? Listen, I enjoy life right now, despite my sorrow.
Despite, if I recall, there was a concern after the First World War of not calling yourself names that sounded too dramatic. When I think it was the new George took over.
Oh, yeah, because he was Albert. Bertie.
Yeah, because they tend to change the name when they
brother
take
is
over.
a weirdo. Yeah.
Well, the problem with James Bond is they're going to treat it like an IP farm, where they're going to use it to make a Money Penny show. They're going to use it to make a Q show. They're going to do prequel Young Bond. They're going to farm the crap out of this. And they're not going to understand, now that we've had Daniel Craig and generations have lived with that one, they're not going to understand what makes Bond who he is. Because famously, Daniel Craig didn't like the womanizing, and he put in his contract, apparently, that they were going to kill James Bond at the end of his run. He was a producer on the movies, so if the movies didn't tickle your fancy, he is partially to blame for how things went down. He didn't like doing it.
And part of the problem, I mean,
Why did they even choose him then?
Well, so there's a woman named Barbara Broccoli.
Yeah.
And Barbara Broccoli liked that potato face looking fucker.
She really fancied him.
Yeah, and that's why he was around for so long. And that's also why Pierce Brosnan got ousted, despite the fact he had 2 more in him.
And I loved him as Bond.
He's the best actor we've gotten to play Bond with the worst movies.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan was perhaps the most Bond I've ever seen. It's like he was born to be James Bond. And they just gave him really bad movies with space lasers shooting, like melting the ice as he's surfing away from it.
Another day.
Madonna and her really weird. That was the one where James Bond was kidnapped and tortured, and then they had to like do some deal to get him out. And then Madonna had a sword fight, like at some mansion or something, because she's an instructor for sword fighting, I think.
Yeah, she's at like some fencing club, and then he and the apparent bad guy of the film, who is apparently a Korean man in whiteface. Anyway, they have a really cool fencing battle that destroys the fencing club.
I like that lackey of his where there was an explosion and he got like diamonds stuck in his face.
Embedded in his face.
Like, why wouldn't you take those out and get money?
Why wouldn't you pick those out?
He's saving them for a rainy day.
Well, you think the regime would take them out too? Like, oh, they're mine. Like, get out of here, you weirdo. I'll send you to the gulag.
But it's a cool scar. My face is worth money.
Maybe they were cubic zirconium. Maybe he had them replaced with fake ones, you know?
Yeah.
He
gets up in the morning and he opens the jewelry box and starts putting them in.
The fake ones are clear anyway.
And the thing with the end of the Broccoli reign over Bond was that, I mean, they were taking so long to make these movies. Even before COVID was a thing, they were taking longer and longer to make.
Yes. We were getting more and more time between. A lot of British franchises are going down the crapper, it feels like.
Yeah.
Classic British franchises. Because James Bond, if anything, is a hyper-masculine womanizer who's sort of the epitome of lack of consequence and license to kill, and I can do whatever I want to, and for Queen and Country, it's very British. It has to be very British. And I don't think they went dark and gritty but also made him emo about the girlfriend that betrayed him.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, which is just a rehash of the Diana Riggs being married to Bond in the one movie, and then they like kind of bring back his like he'll go like in the Roger Moore movies, he'll like go visit her grave in one of them, and you're like, what? Is this supposed to be the same guy? Like what?
Yep.
Like, it's so funny.
He's still bumped. Now I'm going to steal other suggestions that came across the internet. But
yes,
I like the idea of making it a period piece set during the Cold War.
Oh, I'd love
awesome.
It. Yep.
That would be amazing.
I don't know if they have the balls to do that. But because the argument is then when he has cool gadgets, it's cool, not we already have cool gadgets in current culture. Like him having a laser watch, it's like, yeah, I've got a cool watch that can like email people and have phone calls, and like everybody has this technology.
Yeah.
Well, not just that, but it also gives James Bond an actual good villain to fight.
The USSR?
Exactly.
People don't like the Russians right now. It's a hot item. It's a hot ticket.
It's a hot ticket. That's I mean, and you know what they're gonna do? You mentioned prequel, Red. They're gonna do one about his time in the Navy, and there's gonna be a gay subplot. Call it now.
I've heard people speculating that they're gonna make Q gay.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. I mean, despite sort of setting it as a period piece, what would you want to see? Let's presuppose, without a massive amount of bias, that they are going to pull this off. What would you want to see that would bring the boys to the yard when it comes to this film?
A return to form, really. James Bond needs to be masculine. He needs to be attractive to women. And he just needs to be all around awesome.
So no monkey man, big ear Daniel Craig?
Sorry, Daniel Craig. Sorry, buddy. You're good in other things.
He needs to be the how can I say this? He needs to be the suave, genteel man when he's dealing with people face to face, but then he also needs to be capable, a capable espionage agent, quick on the trigger, quick on the draw, all that kind of stuff that previous iterations of Bond were. That, we just need a return to that. We need to return to the time when all men wanted to be him and all women wanted him.
Men too, maybe.
Men too. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Let's not leave them out. Yeah.
I'll say this. Don't be afraid of having small stakes. Some of the best Bond films had not world-ending stakes. They were like, From Russia with Love is about getting information out of a secretary lady who's also trying to get information out of you, and they made a sex tape of you, and like it's all very it's comparatively very low stakes. I mean, Casino Royale, while it has real world big stakes of not funding directly funding terrorism, it's not a space laser or taking people into space to then kill everyone on Earth and have the people in space be the new master race. None of that dumb. Get rid of that. Start small. There's nothing wrong with small stakes.
One of the ones that I like a lot was Live and Let Die.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same kind of small stakes. The dictator of a small island in the Caribbean was basically muscling into New Orleans to Louisiana, if I remember right, to basically corner the drug market.
Yeah.
Freaking chance. I appreciate small stakes. I have had some amazing 8-ounce sirloins, you child.
Waka waka.
Silver, as somebody who was cursed with the woman disease, what do you think of the James Bonds?
The
terminal
woman disease. Can I cast my vote for Henry Cavill?
See, here's the thing. One thing you don't realize is Henry Cavill was proposition for the newer Daniel Craig movies. He did test screens and stuff. You can find video of him doing it. He fits really well. You know what their excuse for not picking him?
Didn't make Barbara Broccoli make her heart flutter?
He was too young at the time.
He would have been pretty young.
Then he's perfect now.
Well, now they would say he's too old. Like if you've seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E., he is exactly what you want a James Bond to be. He's perfect in it.
Yes,
but
yes,
he's moved on.
Highly underrated film.
And they don't want Mr. Cavill. I mean, are you a fan
Barbara
of
Broccoli would. Maybe MGM would.
Yeah. Are you a fan of the James Bond movies, Silver? Are you upset at the misogyny? Like, where do you fall in James Bonds?
I know of James Bond. I can't say I'm a fan.
Oh, we'll change that.
So I know I've watched them, but the thing is, I don't remember a thing about them.
Oh, listen. You're not the only person.
Other
That's
than the
pretty
freaking
common.
train going and falling.
And the sky falls.
I have notoriously had a horrific look. It doesn't make any sense in Skyfall. That whole train's.
No, that's so dumb.
Everybody talks about Skyfall like it's the best Bond movie ever. Skyfall sucks. Skyfall sucks by balls. Skyfall's a bad movie. It's boring and nonsensical. Look, for a James Bond movie, it's nonsensical. This guy escapes from MI6 like custody. Escapes into the subway system, into the sewers, and James Bond catches up with him. And they have a conversation, and he's like, oh, but you don't know. And then he blows up something, and the train falls in. Now, think of it for like 5 seconds. He would have had to plan his escape based upon the subway schedule, knowing exactly when the train was going to fall above him. He would have to know that James Bond would catch up to him right at that moment to place explosives there ahead of time in anticipation that James Bond would be there. And then know that when he blew up the hole in the ceiling, that a subway train was coming. So we'd have to have awkwardly intimate knowledge of the subway schedule, where he'd stand there and be like, yeah, but I know the subway schedule and I planned ahead of time. And I worked with people on the outside that he apparently can communicate from inside prison to let them know to put explosives in the subway system, that he would flee exactly in this direction and that they wouldn't catch up to him until that very moment, because James Bond wouldn't be able to get to him until the exact moment he's in the room for when he can explode it, so we can have a scene where a subway train falls into it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And everybody likes
But you know
Skyfall.
how reliable the English subway system is. It's rock solid. They are on time.
This is not
all the time.
This is not the Japanese train system. Good Lord. Where they have to have apologies and bow in front of cameras for being like a minute late or whatever. This is the English subway system. This is a whole different ball of wax.
Oi, our tube is pretty great. What do you mean? Fucking yank.
They were only a half an hour late today.
Well, and it's like,
that is on time.
And then, we go into James Bond's past. We learn more about him. It's like, no, we don't. We go to an old house that he maybe grew up in, and then they burn it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Burn that Scottish mansion down.
We learn nothing.
My parents dying in the Pyrenees or whatever.
Well, James Bond should have been like, oh, I'm sorry about your family home. And he's like, it's just a home. I'm going to go bone abroad or whatever. Like, that's what James Bond would do.
You know what? We could have a like kind of a Jimmy Bond, an American Bond, and it takes place in the New York subway. Like, But instead, when they blow up the subway tunnel, it's just a river of urine.
Yeah, so we could
comes down.
recreate one of the dumbest moments in James Bond. Like,
Just a river of homeless people and urine.
I could suspend disbelief when he's in space shooting lasers. What I can't suspend disbelief is really nonsensical storytelling. When this is supposed to be the gritty, realistic Bond with Daniel Craig, Casino Royale is great. It's really well
Really good
done.
movie.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, it is.
Skyfall sucks.
It's not my favorite. It's I think it's better than Quantum of Solace, but
Yeah, it is.
I'm a little bit more forgiving in Quantum of Solace, but I recognize it's a bit dull. I really like the car chase scene in the beginning of Quantum of Solace. Chance says you say bone abroad like it isn't a worthy goal. Well, but he's supposed
but it
to
is
be
to him.
He's supposed to be non-sentimental, which is why he
That's
can
true.
do what he can do. He's shut off. He's about indulgence, and he's about going out and killing people for the crown. Like that's what he's about. He's not going to care his house burned down, his family house burned down. He just shrug and then drink a martini and go sleep with some shit. Like, he's not sentimental. That's why he could get away with sleeping with a lot of women and feeling nothing about it.
Have
Do you remember when he became Asian? I remember.
Hey, listen. Not only do I remember, one of my favorites with Tiger Tanaka, his contact in Japan.
Remember when they had that training field in front of what was it? Wasn't it the Kyoto Castle that's there? Himeji Castle, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's where they train assassins in front of the most famous castle in Japan.
It's not a tourist destination. What do you mean? Of course they train them there.
We just got ninjas everywhere. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Sean Connery is Japanese now. He's going to chop at your pee-pee. That's what Japanese do, I assume.
Well, I would. Yes, it's absolutely.
Absolutely. I keep talking over Silver. You don't care about James Bond, I guess. You've seen a Bond movie. Your family has an
I'm
awkward.
Sure I have. I really
atta-
don't remember.
Your family has an awkward attachment to James Bond.
My grandparents do. Weirdly enough, to Skyfall,
Is their favorite movie? Yeah.
No.
they love.
How unfortunate.
Which sparked me screaming about Skyfall for what felt like 2-3 hours to Silver one night while we were playing a game where I just
Yeah,
kept going over how stupid it was. There's no
Sent
way
me like
he knows the subway schedule at that specific time and knew there would be a train at that specific time. It doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Ridiculous.
And Silver's like, I don't want no scrubs. That's what you said to me.
that's what I said to you.
I remember clearly. I mean, how much, Ross, as probably the most lover of Bond, how much do you really care about the franchise, and how much do you react to this news? I guess.
Well, it's funny because James Bond has kind of had its like ups and downs before. Like famously, the longest break we had was between the Timothy Dalton films and Pierce Brosnan, and at the time that was such a long break. And now it's practically the production time of a Bond film under the end of Craig. But I mean, look, if Amazon comes out with a James Bond movie, I will probably try and watch it. And unless I just hear it is truly dreadful. But even then I might watch it, because there's some pretty dreadful Bond films anyway. But I'm not hopeful. Amazon has a bad track record with other IP. Even if they start strong, they will trip over their own feet. The best you can hope for, I think, is that it'll be funny bad, and not just like dreadful bad, like irritating to watch bad. But we'll see.
Chance weighs in. Does Silver have an inordinate amount of men hanging out of the side of their best friend's ride trying to holler at her? Do you have men trying to holler at you, Silver?
No.
Oh.
Well, it's
That's
hard to.
unfortunate.
She's hard to hear. She's so high up as a kaiju monster. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the men find me distasteful.
Well, I certainly do.
well, you keep destroying Tokyo. Like, what do you want him to do? What do you want him to feel? I don't.
Stop eating the men.
Stop eating the trains, okay? I don't know what to tell. Like, it's upsetting.
Well, so here's a question. Here's a question for the panel. Okay. Amazon buying MGM and merging it with Amazon Studios, and then now owning the ability to make new Bond movies. How much do you believe that Bond is necessarily a theatrical cinema release film? Because they might be leveraging this into promoting Amazon Prime and making Bond movies there.
Ooh. So wait, sorry. The question is, do we think they're leveraging it to just for Prime, or
is it going to bother you if this isn't a cinema release? Because that's
Oh,
what
it
Bond movies
would-
are.
ooh,
Yeah.
that would be pretty shocking. I'll be honest. Like, that would be nuts if they come out. Like, it'd be one thing if it's like a spin-off movie, like they're probably gonna make, like you said. But if it's a Bond film, and theoretically, like, because this is the broccoli continuation of the films, the next Bond film, the 20 whatever 6th, 5th, I forget where we're at now, but that would be weird. I think that would be. I almost don't think they could do that. I think they'd have to try and theatrical release it unless they overspend like crazy.
Like everything.
And don't like everything they've done. Because that would almost be like, wow, you took something that was in theaters and like a big deal and like a tentpole, and then turned it into your crappy streaming stuff. Good job.
Jason, what do you think?
I think they could get away with it, but
Really? To force everybody to the platform?
yeah. The thing is that if people want to see the new Bond movie, if they really want to see it, then they'll come to Amazon. I don't think people will necessarily like it. There will be a lot of complaining, but I think that they could do it.
Silver, did you have the time of your life?
And do you owe it all to him?
Do you owe it all
James
to
Bond.
him?
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm a fetus.
Oh.
Is your heart made of ice, baby? No.
Or do you like to let out a rebel yell every now and then?
Final thoughts. Let's start with Silver. Final thoughts on everything. You don't care. I'm including
I'm getting
you, like,
Rings of Power flashbacks.
ooh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Fair.
oh, look, a big name.
As if we hadn't
Hey,
had the
we're
Wheel of Time.
Amazon. It can ruin it.
We're getting more-
Amazon.
We're getting more Rings of Power. Rings of Power has now just become the franchise I torture you all with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do. And it feels great.
It makes me feel good in my jubblies.
Hurts so good.
Hurts so good. I was talking to Ross earlier today where somebody posted in the Rings of Power subreddit. It was something like, if you could take something from the Rings of Power show, like a memento or something on set or whatever, like what would you take? And we struggled to come up with anything in that series that you'd be like, oh, I want this. Like any
The
Yeah.
cameras. Take
oh,
the
hey.
cameras so that they can't make a new one.
Well,
Well,
I
a
thought you
lot
were
of-
going with crackhead energy.
Yeah.
Tell 'em.
Well, a
Sorry,
lot of people were like, the script, so they can't make more. And it's like, okay, but like an actual item as opposed to your joke. Because my joke was like, I would steal Galadriel's sense of self-satisfaction or whatever.
Oh,
their will to live collectively.
mm-hmm.
The-
Because
the-
Rhett and I have our answers, but I'm
Yeah.
curious what prop or item or whatever from the Rings of Power would you guys want to take? And like,
Ooh, I know.
for display or because you think it looks good, whatever,
is there anything?
Let's see.
What was it exactly again? Was it like half of a sword, like a hilt or something, that released the big dam that exploded?
Oh,
Yeah?
the
Oh,
heroin
okay.
needle sword. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
I'll take
the
that.
heroin sword. Where an old man
Okay.
created Mordor.
Ah, yes.
Waldrig, that was his name.
Waldreg. God, that's
I'm
you kept
shocked
that in
you
your
remember
memory.
that.
That's geez. There's important things you could remember, Rhett.
I'm pushing out valuable information to remember things about Rings of Power.
Family member history gone. Waldreg, keeping that, baby.
Remember when Einstein was like, you can only memorize so much information, so he wouldn't learn like his phone number and address and stuff like that because he didn't want to lose other things. Like he has a capacity.
Uh-huh.
I don't know
Can
what I
I
lost
just-
to remember Waldreg, but I lost something.
All right, Jason, what do you think? What prop item?
Chance
whatever?
says he would take the actor's paycheck.
Oh,
Oh, the money,
Like that one.
Chance.
I like that one.
that Bezos money.
Let's see.
So, something dirty and hobo-y related to the not hobbits.
A hair acorn.
Ah,
Yeah.
you can take the Gand. You can take the Gand.
Oh,
The Gand.
Oh yeah, there you go. Take the sets.
Really, you're gonna walk out
Where are you
with
gonna-
a whole set?
where are you gonna put those? Are you just gonna have that like in your backyard, or?
He's gonna keep assaulting the city in his backyard.
Hell yeah, dude! All right.
Like even
Oh,
the rings are
reverse
ugly.
the reverse crossbow.
Yeah,
The reverse crossbow.
Yeah, they are hideous.
The rings look like ring pops. The gaudy, like giant uncut stones. Like wouldn't you cut those?
The armor looks horrible.
The moob armor. I don't want moob armor. The really bad looking elven helmet. It shows awful.
Yeah.
Not to ruin
I
it
thought
for
of
Ross,
another
but
prop.
Ross wants
Oh
the
my
hammer.
Yeah, Fëanor's hammer. Because it's the one prop I remember looking good.
What's that, Silver? What
What
other
was the
prop?
stupid thing Haldir carried around? It was like a
Oh.
crest or something.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good one. That's
the
not
little
bad.
money bag. You want his
Yeah.
little crap money bag? Do you know that if carrying that, they could assume that you are the king or queen of Mordor?
Yeah,
Simply by holding
exactly,
that,
because Galadriel saw that and went, oh my gosh, you're the king.
you could have murdered somebody for it, and they're like, you are royalty now.
Yeah, think of all the power from this bag.
Interesting question. Before we go into the news dump proper, we had extensive conversation last week where I brought up Avowed and I talked about people's impressions of it and whatnot. I hadn't played the game; it was in pre-release. Just like we talked about the new Captain America, we hadn't seen it. We're not reviewing it, which might be frustrating to somebody who's talking about it. But we didn't talk about it with a firm opinion on it because we hadn't played or purchased these things. I have now played 15, 20 hours of Avowed. I now have an opinion of the game. And I can tell you, it's not great. It's not a great game. The combat system is very Skyrim, like I said, most people seem to be saying. It's got some dashing in it that sort of mixes up the combat a little bit, and it also has powers, but Skyrim had powers. I didn't find the combat system to be very engaging, and this is coming from somebody who has played very good first-person melee combat, in the vein of Fat Shark, who have perfected it. They know how to make very good melee combat. This is mediocre melee combat. It's okay, it's serviceable, but it's not engaging that makes me want to perpetuate into it. The biggest flaw of the game is the story, which is not interesting, it's not engaging, and it's pretty dumb. And it seems to want to split the baby with the bathwater sort of thing. It's either here or there. It wants to be colorful, and then it wants to be drab medieval. It wants to visually be European, but then like the lore is very Hindu and Buddhist. Like they have
That's weird.
like rebirth in the plot, which is it's like it doesn't fit with the aesthetic or anything. It's like if you're gonna go rebirth, make your own creative thing, but then they make it look medieval. I think the character models look stupid. I hate all of the creatures in it. I hate the fish people. I hate the stupid furry animal guys. That they're ugly, they're animated poorly, they suck. The story's not engaging. It's just like the island is that you're traveling around to save it for the emperor is being infected by mushroom farts, and it's transforming stuff, and the vines and the mushrooms and the flowers are taking over everything and killing people. It's almost like the fantasy version of The Last of Us, where the mushroom farts are turning them into zombies. They're turning them into monsters and zombies, but colorful monsters and zombies with flowers on your freaking face. The game kind of sucks. It's boring. It's dull. Like, if you were to ask me with an unsuccessful game that came out recently with Starfield, which is better, I would have to say Starfield. Is it terribly woke? No. It's kind of. If that is it is very diverse. And by very diverse, I mean almost every time I run into a captain of the guard, it's a woman. Every race is depicted in equal measure everywhere. I'm constantly running into Asians and black people and Indians and white people, mostly white women, not often white men unless they're a corrupt person in charge. But other than that, it's not in your face or they don't talk down to you. There was one story that was really dumb that I didn't care for, but it's not exciting. To tell you how engaged I was, I played it a bunch and I got so like uninterested in it. I just went and played a game that I've played thousands of hours out and has been out for years with Hearts of Iron 4. And I was like, I'm going to play something else that's not this game. Will I finish it? I don't know.
Maybe someday.
Yes, this is my now first-hand review and response to Avowed. It sucks. It's not great. And it's not great because not that it's terrible, it's dull, which is probably the biggest sin it commits.
Ooh. Almost worse.
Yeah.
It's killing me softly, if you will.
That's one of the worst things about any entertainment media that you can say about it is that it's dull. That it doesn't entertain you. At least if something's bad, you know, there might be something that you can say, like you can hate watch it. Where if it's dull, it's just like, no, I got to do something else.
Well,
at least people talk about Dustborn.
I fought a guy and died. And then I just didn't reload the checkpoint because I was like, Like, I just didn't have the
done with
energy to
this.
try and face him. Where usually my instinct, and here's to tell you, my instinct is to bash myself against the wall of a boss to overcome, just to keep pushing, because I love From Software games. It's not the difficulty, it's the dullness. That's what disappoints
So,
me.
a number of years ago, now I'm not saying that this game is a bad game. Onimusha on the PlayStation 2, I want to say. I liked the story, but the controls were crap.
Well, it's the tank controls from like a Resident Evil sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which that was the successful controls at the time. I get what you're saying.
But the thing is that you still wanted to play the game. It was still popular enough to have, 3 Onimushas come out from there?
Yeah. Swell. Avowed isn't worth it. And they're advertising it everywhere. Anyway, news
Of
dump.
course.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast.
Chance,
Big
take your pants off before you go to the bathroom.
pile of news dump.
Hey, crapping his pants on the toilet.
I like to think we're watching over him as he's taking care of business. Hovering.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Chance is sitting there going, "Mo money, mo problems." All right. Well, we have news. Before we get deep, this is a bit of news I was aware of, but Ross just reminded me of it. So we had a movie called The Apprentice about Donald Trump, which may or may not be accurate. I'm not going to weigh in on whether or not it's any good. The director of that movie has been accused of groping people, which is ironic considering the person that he made a movie about. And seems to have been dropped by his agency as well.
Oh, whoops.
Well,
That's a whoopsie.
I'm just saying.
The irony is palpable.
I'm just saying. It's funny. News that Jason might care about. This is from The Sun, so take it with a grain of salt. But the rumor is that Shudigatwa is done and doesn't want to be strapped to Doctor Who, and apparently has a bunch of projects lined up in California, and he wants to move to California, so he may be done with the Doctor as a very short run.
Supposedly they've already shot a regeneration scene.
Yeah.
Well,
once again, this originally came from The Sun, so take it for what it is. We did get an update where people asked the BBC for comment, and they didn't comment, which isn't to know.
Well, what I heard was that the rumor is that they've already shot supposedly this regeneration scene, and that Ncuti Gatwa's got different things on the pipeline in California.
Right,
he
this
wants
is
to go
all
out and do that.
Rumor from The Sun article.
Right. But I had heard that there was some denial that this was the case, but kind of a no, that's not what's going on. We're gonna wait and see how this current season is doing, kind of thing. And it's like, well, we kind of already know how this current season is going, guys. So it's highly likely that he will, but at the same time, who knows?
In Avowed news, Avowed Steam player count is 20 times lower than Starfield's peak.
Oh my god. Uh-oh.
Avowed seem to have been received well.
Holy.
Very, very well. I found this interesting article from... well, apparently there have been mass layoffs at Marvel's. Marvel Rivals studio.
Oh. Uh-oh.
And the response from Baldur's Gate's publishing director is basically, you need to underpromise and overdeliver. I think that's probably good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is such good advice. Such good advice.
Yeah. The video game industry has shown us that it's really easy to get the hype train going downhill at a crazy speed that you can't stop. I mean, it doesn't take much. So yeah, definitely underpromise.
In some news that Ross might be super excited about, Joker 2 is leading the Razzies with 7 nominations.
Oh my God!
7 nominations.
I don't know if they deserve worst actor, but it's certainly a bad movie.
It was well acted.
Jesus.
If I were going to say a worst movie, Megalopolis is worse.
Oh
Absolutely.
God, yeah.
Joker 2 is just, it's bad in a different way, where it's bad when held up against the other film and the fact that we know who the Joker is.
Yeah. Oh. I made a whoopsie.
The Razzies definitely. Do you remember when Halle Berry showed up to accept hers?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That woman.
Hell yeah, that's a power move.
Well, she deserves a lot of credit, and she did the "You love me, you really love me" speech.
Hell yeah.
It was an awesome move on her part. It was.
Oh
just
yeah,
kind of
the balls to do that.
That is. Yeah.
Just show up and accept it. She's like, "Yeah, I want my award." Where is it?
Hello.
Apparently, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did poorly. When it hit Steam, it's now at number 3, so that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad game. It's perhaps trapped within the world of Sony. I'm glad it's selling really well on Steam, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad for both fans and for the development team that it is. But not to be on my soapbox as usual, but this is further evidence that the two of the major console brands have damaged themselves so badly that this is where it's at.
Now, I'm going to touch on this lightly. Sorry to interrupt, Ross. Did you have something?
No, you go ahead.
I'm going to touch on this lightly. A lot of people have already talked about this. We don't know. We need to go into extensive detail because other people have already commented on this to extensive degree. But it's worth bringing up that the internet has been awash with debates and drama and controversy surrounding whether or not Captain America 4 is doing well financially. This is, believe it or not, a massive debate on the internet right now. People claiming, oh, it's killing it. It made so much money its first weekend. It did about $180 million. That's worldwide. And the claim was that because the studio put out $180 million as how much it cost, that it already made its money back. It's a massive success, yada, yada, yada. Here's the problem. It's running financially along the lines with Quantumania and slightly behind. And Quantumania didn't make its money back. Now, even if you accept the fact that $180 million is how much it costs, which I don't buy, it probably costs a lot more.
No.
Let's just say it is $180 million. And let's be very conservative, though they advertise it like crazy. Let's be very conservative and say they only spent about half the budget on advertising, which is not cited in the budgets that they put forward. So now we're looking at what? $270. Now, when you go to theaters, they take about half of the amount of money that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, after its massive opening weekend, even with the budget that they say that we don't believe, it's still in the red by like $80 million. So
Well, even if Captain America was 180 million, and we completely discount how much advertising they've spent on it, if all they've made is 180 million, they've broken even. The movie has made no money whatsoever. None.
But they only get half of
not
the
doing
ticket
well.
sales, so they haven't made $180 million.
Right.
They made $90 million.
I'm just saying that if in a perfect world all the money went to the movie, and half of the money didn't go to the theaters that were showing the film.
Yes.
180 million spent to make a movie. You get 180 million. You've made no money.
Well,
$0.
Right. Once again, I don't want to go down this path because 40 different podcasts have already gone through the numbers in extensive detail and better than us. And I don't want to retread ground like I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking, having heard this talked about by other people. That being said, we now have the numbers. We now have the numbers with how it's performed over the week and how much of a drop off there is. Now, conservatively, 60 is very good. 60% drop off is very good. If it's tracking close to Quantumania, that did about a 70% drop off. If you think this is going to have better legs than something like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, you're kidding yourself for it to, because people are like, well, longevity, it might make its money back and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what would be your guess as to how much of a drop off we've had for this movie?
65%.
Okay.
I'm thinking higher, probably around 75%.
Okay. Silver, any idea? What do you think the drop off, the interest is? 80?
Let's go 80.
Wow. Oof.
Yeah. It's about 82.
Wow. Oh no! Is that a record?
Well, I've seen articles claim that it's above the worst drop off in MCU history, which is a weird way to title an article.
Very weird way.
It's like, isn't that the second worst drop off? Not it beats out the worst drop off with how you're describing the article.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that if they say it that way, then they have to admit that it's a bad movie. If they say that it actually it beat the best, it beat the worst drop off, then that's a point in its favor.
And depending on which numbers you believe, I don't know if this number's quoted accurately. I heard it was like 84 point something. So with that massive a drop off, it's performing worse than Quantumania that lost money. And with that massive drop off, it is not on pace to make its money back. I think the more interesting story is how much people care that this movie is succeeding. I'm going to be honest. I don't care whether the movie succeeds. I'm not necessarily advocating for it to do poorly. I want bad movies that dishonor the characters to do bad. But in the end, I don't care if Disney makes money. I don't care. Why people seem to make it some sort of personal thing where it's like you're personally attacking them if you don't believe that it's doing well, or they take it personal for some reason because there's a black main character or because they're shills for the... Why do you care if the movie does well? Even if you like the movie, does it mean anything if it's successful or not? Why does it matter that much? And people are literally arguing over this all week on the internet. Oh, it's made its money back. No, it hasn't. It's really good. It's going to do well. It's going to have legs. It's like it's a massive drop off week over week because guess what? Word of mouth got out and it's bad and it's performing worse than Quantumania, which lost money.
God. Yeah, and did they have as much reshoots?
No. Well, and that's the problem. When they said 180 million, everybody rolled their eyes because it's like, first of all, you've lied about your budgets before. So how am I supposed to believe that this 180 million is accurate?
Yeah, especially now where this movie is not filmed in the UK, so there will not be tax documents that actually give the stated, like the real budget.
Right.
So we'll never know. It'll just be 180 million forever until some insider leaks the reality.
Well, and the Marvels cost like 350, and this looked like it had way more reshoots than that. I would bet it's probably 3+ in the end.
Easily.
Yeah. And if that's the case, and this thing has got to be like $1 billion movie to probably break even.
Yeah. Jesus.
It's not doing well. It just isn't.
Yeah.
You can like the movie, and I would say, here's the problem with these sorts of things. I think you can have a reasonable, objective argument that some movies are made badly. But what I think you can't say is people subjectively can like movies for whatever reason. So if you like a movie and someone says they don't, and they can give all of these objective reasons to why it's bad, you don't have to take it personal because the movie isn't part of your body. You didn't make it. You didn't give birth to it. Your ego and self-confidence and self-worth isn't attached to whether or not Captain America 4 does well. Let it go. It's fine.
The thing is that we've discussed this multiple times with the, why people are so offended if you think that this movie, or they're so diehard in their support of these movies and stuff. In my mind, there's a couple of things. One is that if the movie doesn't do well, then that means that their message is being rejected.
Yeah.
The other thing is that people do in recent times, they've done a lot of internalizing of these things. And so, them being a fan of this movie and you saying, I don't like this movie for whatever reason. And you did touch on this.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's my long-running theory that when you say you don't like something that somebody likes, because their personality is so wrapped up into it, they take it like you're attacking them personally. Because their personality is almost based off of these interests.
Yeah. Well, and with this movie, unfortunately, there's the added, bizarre culture war thing through Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Which wasn't helped by the terrible TV show they made.
But it's got an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, well, thank God. And if you look at some of those fresh tomatoes and read the excerpt, it sure seems like a great review. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, no studio is sending bots to prop up the score.
No, definitely not.
Freaking Rise of Skywalker was stuck at 86% forever, despite all of the hatred for that film. Nobody could downvote it and get it to move down even an iota. Oh, did you know that
hilarious.
They have found that slightly outside of our realm, well, it's attached to the internet. Government groups are meeting on Discords and then making action plans when it comes to community noting Twitter comments in order to protect their interests.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They're brigading, government actors are brigading Twitter comments and adding community notes.
Holy cow. That's awesome.
And apparently Twitter is very aware it's happening.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Despite finally breaking even on Alan Wake 2, apparently Remedy is still operating in the red.
Oh no, Remedy! No, Remedy! Uh oh.
People make games hoping that they'll be profitable years after it comes out, because that's why people make games. But apparently Remedy is just not doing well financially, period.
Ooh.
And this is my, without going into too much detail, this is my updated, let's talk about Remedy and Alan Wake conversation every week. This is more an opinion I would like people to respond to. So an ex-Dragon Age developer, producer, has asked people to stop harassing developers. I'm going to read some of the comments here. Okay, so Mark Dara, the director and producer of Dragon Age series from its inception until the departure from BioWare in 2020. He then returned as a consultant for Veilguard, has uploaded a YouTube video titled Your $70 Doesn't Buy You Cruelty. In it, he breaks down how the perceived failings of games are often misattributed to the wrong people, and how rather than voicing reasonable critiques in a reasonable way, people often resort to personal attacks and online harassment. And despite multiple instances in which he makes clear that you are allowed to have an opinion on a game you bought and didn't like, thank you for your permission, sir. The comment section is still treating the benign statement of don't be shitty to people as a personal attack. Let's read slightly more. Dar uses video to talk about a phenomenon in which dissatisfied customers often harass lower-level developers on social media over what they see as flaws or problems in a game they bought. He points out that while criticism is warranted and can help developers make better games, too many people online resort to cruelty and personal attacks, typically without understanding how a thing they're unsatisfied with ends up the way it does in the final product. Dara explains how development pipelines, poor decisions from up top, and sometimes bad luck can result in something not reaching a certain quality standard. He then goes on to say that higher-ups in development should act as a lightning rod for the feedback and inevitable toxicity, but often the internet will look for anyone they can reach on social media as an outlet for their frustration. Thoughts?
So my first thought is, how does anyone even know who these lower level developers even are? Unless they're getting mouthy on their social media and shitty to the fans, and then they just get dogpiled as one would expect. I'm not saying that some, entry level developer hasn't absolutely gotten shit piled on Twitter or whatever unduly. I'm sure it has happened at some point, but because look, when I think about games that get a rash of shit and developers that get a rash of shit, I think of people like Emil Pagliariolo at Bethesda or Todd Howard, or I think of Randy Pitchford, you greasy fuck, or I think of like
Neil
people
Druckmann.
high up. Neil Druckmann. I don't think
Suck
of
my balls, Neil Druckmann.
I mean, honestly, please just do it. You want it, But I don't think of Caesar, Joe Blow, or whatever. Like, I don't think of I can't think of the only time I could think of that ever happening is when they were getting really shitty on their Twitter or Instagram or whatever to fans about something. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, ex Dragon Age developer man. But I'm saying the ones I can think of have always been that. And I would wager that's probably the majority. But yeah, that's what I'd say.
Kind of my take is that one, the internet, unfortunately, allows people to indulge in their more baser instincts, if you will. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying that feeling of anonymity, people will abuse that, and they will go after people because they're angry. Now, just because you're saying we don't understand, the thing is that you've actually been pretty transparent with how you've been developing these things recently. So I don't know what you mean by we don't understand when you're telling us. You're giving us glimpses. You're trying to get us engaged in your product. So I don't know what you mean by we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You're telling us what's going on behind the scenes, and we're not liking it. And so then when these like Ross said, when these lower level devs come out and say, well, you don't understand what's going on, blah blah blah, you're just, blah blah, yeah, there's going to be backlash. There are probably some people who will track down the developers at the company and start bad-mouthing them. But I think for the most part, we don't go after the lower level devs. We go after the people who are I shouldn't say we go after,
faces of the company.
Targeted, yeah. The people who are targeted are the faces of the company. The people that are online and that are touting the next best thing out of your production line when we don't think it's all that great, or it's kind of one of those after the fact things where you've released it and it's been a pile of garbage and now you're saying you just don't understand. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure we do. I don't understand what they want at this point, because why would you go after the lower level devs when you can go after the face?
Silver, what do you say to a developer who comes to you and says, you're making fun of me and it's giving me an achy breaky heart?
I'll say I just don't think you understand.
No.
Uh,
Nah.
uh.
I mean, that's an interesting response. He does feel bad that people are making fun of him. I mean, how do you feel about this?
But I need to reread whatever the heck you said.
Okay. Are you
Silver!
zoning out? Are you not even
Silver!
paying attention to the own podcast that you're a part of?
I try.
Oh my God.
Wah 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 wah.
We've said this
Yeah.
multiple times on our podcast. We're one of the first people who will come out and say, look, if you don't like something, that's fine, but be civil about your dislike. Tell them, give them constructive criticism. Don't go after them personally. Don't start getting threats and or don't start posting threats and things like that. That doesn't help. That just spreads vitriol, and they're not going to listen to that.
Silver, I am
But
going
at
to
the same
strangle
time-
you and bury you in the yard for not paying attention.
But at the same time, developers don't seem to be listening to us when we actually do come up with constructive criticism for them.
This is
They
constructive criticism.
They downplay
Silver.
it and they dismiss it.
My feelings are valid.
Okay.
This is a legitimate
I'm
threat
friend.
in Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
That's right. I'm gonna murder you. When you're dead, they're gonna be like, enter Sandman or whatever.
Yeah, as is tradition.
To respond to this, here's the thing. The first mistake you made was telling the internet to be reasonable. It's the internet. Hey, everybody, be nice to each other. Do you know what you're going to get? People being shitty to you by telling everybody to be nice to you. The internet is going to internet. And if you don't understand this, then you're delusional as hell. It is reasonable to basically say, if you're upset with a game that you paid for, target your comments to the heads of the company and not the lower level people. And in fact, threats and harassment are inappropriate across the board. I would recommend people not do that. I don't advocate for that. I would venture, though, that they don't hear you when you're being reasonable.
Yeah.
One thing I always used to think about, since they've made it harder and harder for people to express their displeasure when it comes to movies on Rotten Tomatoes, do you know what was a useful tool? Even if people didn't see the movie and they were downvoting it, you know what was a useful tool when that would happen? Is it also gauged sentiment, public sentiment. So even if they didn't see the movie and they didn't have a reasonable response to it, it was gauging how people felt about the movie, which also was valuable. And if you're getting a lot of anger, this should tell you some interesting bits of information. People are upset with the direction you're going, with the franchise they care about. I know dismissing this isn't going to get you anywhere. People hate the game. They paid money for it, good money, and they love the franchise, and they feel you've ruined it. Harassment is bad, but the internet is going to internet. So you're either going to have thick skin and take it on the face, or you're just going to have to not be on the internet. Like no social media. Because if you can't handle criticism when you're producing and making things, then this is not a place you should be.
I did like what the guy said about basically people in his position, that they should be the lightning rods.
They should.
And we're basically saying that same thing. We're saying, don't go after the lower level devs. They had no decision-making power here. They were told what to do by the higher-ups, by the faces, by the people that we should be sending our criticisms to. We should be targeting them because they are the decision makers. They are the ones that have the power. The devs were just told what to do, and they may have raised objections. They may have said, you know what, fans aren't going to like this, but they were told to shut up and program. That's kind of what they're paid to do. So telling the devs that you're ticked off isn't going to get you what you want.
Yeah, you ought to know, Silver.
Oh.
You ought to know.
I ought to know.
Yes. Stop with this teenager smells like Teen Spirit attitude you're giving me. I'm sick of it. Let's move on, and I want Silver paying attention. Heads up in class. Assassin's Creed Shadows, the Shinto Shrine is still upset about it. I'm going to have a hot take on this. Look, they're more than welcome to be upset.
Yes.
With disrespect for their culture or their religion, for whatever reason. I'm going to say they are overdoing it. Personal anecdote, editorializing in this article, because if you watch what happens when he goes to the shrine, is it's just items in the room that are breakable that you can roll into and break. And they just didn't like that you're trashing the shrine. It's not like there's a mission where he burns it down. He's just breaking breakables in the shrine. Now, that being said, they're more than welcome. They don't need my permission, but they're more than welcome to feel that they're desecrating a religious site of their faith. I'm just saying, of all of the criticism to levy against Assassin's Creed Shadows, this is a little bit. You're piling on, and it's a little silly.
Yeah, it seems.
So I do have a
harsh.
I do have a quick question here. I know that in the past shrines have been desecrated. Now I'm not saying that Ubisoft should have put that in one of their actual games. That seems a little bit disrespectful, but I mean,
I don't think they were deliberately doing it.
Had a
It's just breakables like barrels and stuff. It's not.
Right.
But
And-
they're taking it as disrespect to their shrine, and I
Well,
totally
that's
get
fine.
that.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
disrespectful though.
because I'm sure it's probably just some like algorithmic thing that puts like, hey, inside of building, add this item or whatever. But to be fair, even outside of the drama that Ubisoft has with this game and Japan, I guess we could put it in the context of all the problems Japan has been having with tourists from various places around the world coming and doing things that suck, both in
Yeah.
shrines and not in shrines, whatever. So there could be that added aspect of it too, where like these places are already kind of hypersensitive about it.
Now, to be
I think
fair,
I agree with Rhett though.
yeah, it's a little far. Now, to be fair, like the items in the center of the shrine, like the little box and stuff, you can roll into and they break. But I think it's meant for world building, where if you had a fight in there, stuff breaks and it's dramatic, rather than screw your shrine, bro. Now they're more than welcome to be upset about it, but the mission isn't to burn shrine down. It's just there are breakables in the building. So I think this
I'm
is,
wondering
of
if
all of
some
the
of-
criticism that this game deserves, this is a little exaggerated.
I'm wondering if this is a little bit of like what Ross was saying, that there's some sort of algorithm that says put these items in shrine, and then as part of the game, those items are breakable just by their nature of the programming. And so because they're being put in the shrine by an algorithm and by design they're breakable, it's just kind of the two and two together kind of thing. It could also be, a little bit of hypersensitivity because they feel that the game has been disrespecting their culture, and now they see that there's breakable stuff in the shrine.
Well, yes, which is sort of what we were suggesting, which is what we were suggesting before, which is fine. I'm just saying this feels exaggerated. They're being very sensitive, and it's not that big a deal. There was a mission in a previous Assassin's Creed where you could assassinate the Pope.
Yeah.
Breakables in a shrine in Japan is not the worst thing that's ever happened. Once again, they're more than welcome.
Was there any outrage from the Catholics about that? I don't even recall hearing
I don't
about
remember
it.
that. There might have been some group or another, but not majorly. No, not that I remember.
You could argue it's disrespectful that you can climb all over sacred churches in the Catholic faith in multiple games, which had breakables inside there.
I mean, Catholics have assassinated the Pope before, so I mean,
that's true.
I don't. Is there a leg to stand on?
Let's move on.
At one point in the Middle Ages, there were 5 popes all at the same time.
Yeah. Apparently, Gwen Stacy is being revived in Earth 616 as Gwenpool.
Oh my god.
Let her stay dead. It was impactful. If she comes back, it's no longer impactful.
Hey, Rhett, as a certified not comic guy and almost slight comics hater, do you think maybe this is perhaps part of the problem with comics? Is that nothing ever matters because they'll just come back anyway?
Yeah.
Consequences.
Yeah, it seems like
important.
it would be to me.
Consequences.
Yeah, the thing is that if a character gets killed in the comics, they need to stay dead.
Yeah.
And so you really need to sit down and have a talk about whether or not you're actually ready to end that character's life. Otherwise, don't do it. It just cheapens everything about the comics.
Superman's death.
There's really
notoriously damaged DC.
Yep.
Where he was rescued by Kryptonian robots and brought back to life and showed up with long hair. Spider-Man, who died. Kraven killed him, but really didn't, and then came back. Batman's died multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
We can't really have, if a character can die and then they're immediately brought back in the next issue, then there really is no threat to the character. None whatsoever.
Well, Marvel
So you
and
have
DC
to treat
have
you
ruined
death
it.
as a permanence.
You're
Yeah,
trying to
they did.
rewrite bad decision making. Batman has died multiple times. Back broken by Bane. Believe it or not, we thought he was dead at that point. Remember when he was shot by Darkseid, and
Oh, yeah.
instead the gun sent him back in time as a bomb?
Yeah.
Oh,
Batman
God.
was a secret bomb going through time.
Ugh.
It's very stupid. It's very stupid. The top grossing animated movie of all time is a Chinese movie.
Uh-oh.
$2 billion.
Get dunked on, Disney.
Get
Wow.
dunked on.
Holy shit. God damn.
Surpassing Inside Out 2.
Oops.
Did
You
it
make
make
crappy-
most of its money in China?
I would assume.
Well, it didn't make any of its money outside of China. What are you talking about?
That's what I was thinking.
Everybody in China saw it twice.
And for only $1. Holy cow. I'll say this, it doesn't look horrible. I mean, as far as the
No.
animation, like, it looks all right.
Very much copied of a Pixar style, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw the first one in that series because I recognized the name.
Jason's a traitor to our country.
Wow, you supported the CCP, huh? I see how it is. I'll remember
Do you
that.
like propping up evil regimes, Jason? Does that make you feel good?
Are you
Well-
a fan of Uyghur camps?
Have you volunteered your
if we don't
property
have
and
a
time
bad guy
to
on the
imprison
world stage,
Uyghurs?
then we can't look better in comparison.
I don't think I like your insinuation, sir.
Tatiana Maslany of She-Hulk fame is apparently really jonesing to come back and do more Marvel stuff.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
wait a minute. Didn't she say something about Bob Iger during
Yeah.
the strike?
Well, that's the reason why she's not coming back. She crapped on Bob Iger during the strike, and because apparently, according to all metrics, her show did well, and that there could have been a season 2. And she made a comment about Bob Iger, and it was immediately not going to happen. Because, make good decisions, Miss Tatiana Maslany from Canada.
Well, and also Bob Iger, definitely don't take anything personally, you idiot. You're richer than God, but it's fine. Get hurt that some dumb actor said something about you.
I'm
You
really
know,
excited. Go ahead, Jason.
If it was really that great, and if it was really just raking in the cash, they would have come out with some statement that she didn't really mean it, and blah blah blah. It was said, off the cuff. She didn't really think about it. She really they would have done some spin to it that would have allowed them to progress with a second season.
We need
'Cause
She-Hulk
they would have been
twerking into Daredevil. Just come backing it up.
Ew. Ew. I don't like that.
That's
Of
no
Wicked
good.
of Wicked fame, Cynthia Erivo is going to play Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh my gosh.
So biblically accurate. That's fair.
The actual witch was Cynthia. The horror monster that is Cynthia Erivo. There's been a lot of anger and reaction.
That production is going to go down in flames.
Well, look, there's been a lot of anger and reaction. People are going to go see it, and they're going to praise her relentlessly. People don't care when Christians are dumped on because they're easy, and you're not allowed to be upset about this. Is this disrespectful? Yes. It's also Jesus Christ Superstar, which is fairly heretical. So
Yeah.
I was And also, I'm going to make a couple assumptions. This production is in L.A. or New York,
Yeah.
and is it? I'm guessing this is an all-female cast.
It might be. What is that stupid? It's actually a fairly famous. The Hollywood Bowl in LA.
Oh, uh-huh. Boy, that's probably the worst thing that's ever been done at the Hollywood Bowl.
Are you sure?
Was
To end
Well,
a bit of. Well,
R.
finish your
Kelly
thought.
there?
I'd say, well, if this was the other LA, Louisiana, then maybe something horrible could have happened during Katrina. But
Gotham City.
I don't know. City of Justice.
Now I know why the
New Orleans
wildfires
City.
started. The preemptive punishment.
Stadium
Maybe.
of P. And a bit of fun news to enter to round out this podcast. I thought it was pretty neat. They found a shipwreck that was full of retro game consoles. Some of them that have been missing for 30 years.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh.
For
That's
30
awesome.
years, an abandoned ship sat rusted on the Welsh coast, hiding a forgotten secret. Deep inside, a collection of vintage arcade machines remained untouched, frozen in time. What started as an urban exploration soon became a desperate mission to save them. The clock was ticking and not everybody wanted them rescued. I thought it was neat.
Were they
that
just
found about
not fans of fun?
Well, it's like who owns the wreckage and
Yeah.
are they allowed to? And then there's safety concerns as to whether or not they can go in there.
Mhm.
But there were consoles that people thought were lost to time sitting in this ship.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I hope
thought
they
it
can
was
get them out.
A neat story. Well, it talks about how, let's see, the team just had 10 days to remove all 50 cabinets. They rallied a group of 12 dedicated collectors and this operation to try and pull it off and get them all out. And I'm sure a lot of them were probably water damaged and whatnot. After years of neglect and exposure, they had to do a bunch of effort to restore them. But it was neat that they were able to locate these things and recover them. As a rabid fan of classic video games, I find it lovely that we found a bunch of sacred relics in a temple of ours on the coast in Wales.
It's a temple, a rusting hulk of a ship.
And you can roll into it, and you can break stuff.
Yeah, you can. You're going to break a lot of stuff soon.
You're going to break a lot of stuff. If I found a ship like that, I'd be like, hit me, baby, one more time.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would say that. It felt
That's
appropriate.
fair.
Silver, wake up. What are you thinking?
I'm just thinking about dursting around a ship now.
Rolling.
Rolling.
Hey, everybody, something, animals fight. Woo, it's fight night once again. As I have to awkwardly open up this thing as Jason does his stuff.
Yep. So today we have this is the
beforehand.
last round before the semifinals.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So we have the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp. The Lizard Man is 7 feet tall, humanoid, red eyes, green scaly skin, large clawed hands and feet, and apparently has immense strength. then he is facing off against, in this case, a rather fragile seeming cryptid, the Mongolian deathworm. Apparently, it's sausage shaped, about 2 feet long. It has no head or legs. It's poisonous, and it lives in the Gobi Desert. It travels underground. And it's not just poisonous; it is also venomous. It can kill by spraying poison, and apparently, much like an electric eel, it has an electrical discharge. So, Silver, do we have any opinion from the great Chat GPT in the sky?
We do. It
Our
says
sacred god.
likely. Yeah, the Chat GPT god says it would likely depend on the environment and circumstances. If the fight happens in a swamp, the lizard man's agility and strength might give it the edge. But if the fight happens in a dry, open desert, the Mongolian deathworm's deadly long-range abilities, venom or electricity, might overpower the lizard man. Ultimately, if the deathworm can land a hit first, it could take the win. But if the lizard man can close the distance, it might win in hand-to-hand combat.
Silver, which side are you taking so I can pick the opposite?
Give me a moment and I'll tell you.
May I take the floor, please? May I?
Yeah.
Please.
Go for it.
All right. So here's what's happening. That the lizard Hillary Clinton, whatever, that 7 foot tall freak is gonna walk up on that Mongolian deathworm and swing it around like a Pomeranian in a pillowcase, and just obliterate it against a rock wall. That's what's gonna happen, my boy. I'm giving the win to the Clinton Foundation on this one. That's what I'm saying.
I'm on your side on this one, Ross. I'm thinking that the lizard man would come out on top.
Silver.
Dang it, I'm trying to make this interesting. The worm has 7 hearts or something.
If it gets smashed against the rock, it doesn't matter.
Okay, no, you know what?
It's gonna whip itself at the lizard man.
Ross, how about this?
All right.
The glass ceiling that is the Mongolian deathworm. The problem with this fight is stealth. And the Mongolian deathworm is an underground creature of orange man poison capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And when faced against the lizard Clinton of the swamp, he prevents her from moving forward because no one wants to see a woman president.
So what you're saying, Red, is that using Russian collusion, the Mongolian deathworm is going to stop our Madam President Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
How dare you? How dare you?
ChatGPT, I asked for inspiration. It gave me a weird one.
Oh.
It says, Mongolian deathworm would win because the lizard man, after a few minutes of fighting, would be like, okay, this is getting weird, and decide it's time to head to a nearby swamp bar for a drink. But just as he's about to order, the deathworm swoops in with a zap of electricity saying, you think you'd just leave the battlefield for a cocktail? Not today, buddy. Plus, the deathworm knows how to use the underground advantage to avoid awkward small talk, whereas the lizard man would get caught up and try to explain to the bartender why it's not a big deal that it's been living in the swamp for decades.
Oh my
gosh. And the greatest worm, we need to keep the lizard people out. We need to build a wall.
I'm telling you.
I see.
We got to keep that lizard out of the desert. All right. All right. I'm telling you
that's kind of pedo-esque.
Stealth, poison, and Russian collusion, I think, carries the day in this situation.
Well, I think the lizard The lizard Hillary Clinton has help from demons. All right, she's eating the children, getting all the adrenochrome.
Who would pay 6 figures for a lizard to give a speech? It doesn't make any sense.
All it would do is just like taste and
Other
smell with
lizards.
its tongue.
You think she's
Standing up
brilliant
there,
enough
sticking its tongue out.
that people would pay her? That's like the other creature's son painting really bad paintings and people buying them for 6 figures. He ain't that good.
It's legitimate art, all right? Listen, let's not get into it. I'm not trying to die by suicide to 5 gunshot wounds to the head. Anyway,
value is only connected to what you're willing to pay. I mean, what are you going to say?
What, in my mind, this would come down to there'd have to be kind of a place that's almost a neutral meeting ground. It's neither
how do you make that
entirely desert. Well, it's like on the shore. You could have sand from the desert, and then they meet in kind of an oasis, so it has water too.
Okay, then the worm wins because it can't go in the water. The lizardman has to beat him on his home territory.
Right, but
with his comb over.
The thing is it it does say that the lizard man is, agile, and I think he could react quick enough to the Mongolian death worm bursting out of the sand to just stomp it flat.
Well, he doesn't announce his presence like he's doing a Naruto
He has
move.
to come out of the sand sometime.
Yeah, but he doesn't go spinning back worm poison attack.
Well,
he
Yeah.
doesn't burst out. He crawls out and grabs him while he's not paying attention, while he's thinking about what he's going to do to the economy.
Listen, the lizard Hillary Clinton has hypervigilance. You will not hear this. Can't underestimate the lizard.
I don't think you can.
Lizard husband is on Epstein's list, by the way.
So, a shocking amount of times.
A shocking amount of times. Do you really want to let this prevent make worms great again?
I mean, you look at the face on the worm. I think I want to prevent that.
He's a kissable. Look at it.
Oh,
He's all
what?
teeth.
He's fine.
Oh, look at him.
He's all teeth.
Screaming
What do you think,
patriotism.
Silver?
I think Mongolian deathworm.
Yeah.
While the lizard man is trying to get over that wall,
You know what?
Tunnel underneath, come back up through, and like Boba Fett him.
He's 7 feet tall. That Mongolian deathworm is Boba Fetting his toe. What are you talking about?
Size doesn't
yeah.
mean anything if he bites you and kills you with his poison.
That's poisonous.
We
and
don't even
Russian
know if
collusion.
We don't even know if that poison is effective against the lizard man alien. All right, the lizard Hillary Clinton alien.
Now we're just making assumptions.
But it's how
We
many
don't know if
things that
the
are
lizard
like
man has a gun. It's
no.
the same
What
argument.
I'm getting at is it's the size of a dachshund. What things the size of a dachshund can kill us with poison? Not
I've
many.
seen large
I
dogs
just
run from angry dachshunds.
That's not the point. The point I don't think it's I don't think its poison will be good enough. I mean,
How
that
do you
lizard
know
man
that?
is jacked.
Well,
The Mongolian deathworm is
reptiles
all
tend-
muscle.
Are worms all muscle? I thought they were.
It's gonna grab you by
well,
the P
no,
word.
they're not all muscle. They have organs and stuff in there, but
How do you
they
think he
definitely
grabs you
don't have
by
a
the P
skeleton.
word without you knowing? Stealth.
What is he, the urethra thing in the Amazon? What are we talking about here?
Well,
Parasite.
Pretty soon I'm gonna have a 2-foot long sausage wanger as the lizard man. The lizard Clinton.
all he does is
reptiles
if he-
do tend to be immune to poison.
Right.
But we don't have evidence of that. With the lack of evidence, you can't just imply he's immune to it.
I refuse to let a 2-foot-long stump of a worm go ahead of the 7-foot-tall lizard man. This is ridiculous.
Look, even if the worm dies, all he does is need a little nibble, and it's over. It's mutual.
You don't know
destruction.
that.
You don't.
What if it's a
know that.
long-acting poison? Exactly.
Well, let's say, the worm gets stumped, and at the same time, it manages to sink its teeth into the lizard man's ankle. I'm thinking that the lizard doesn't expire as quickly as the Mongolian deathworm does. So we'd still have the winner being the lizard man.
I only accept this if the poison lasts into the next round and he's sickly fighting the next monster.
Well, I think it wouldn't pierce Lizard Hillary Clinton's Louboutins, so therefore I do not accept this.
Pantsuits are
He
not
does
a
have
defense
scaly
against
skin. He'd have to
poisonous
be able to-
bites.
But high quality leather pumps are. Thank you.
How about this, Ross? How about this?
Mm-hmm.
He is shaped like a sausage. The Hillary Clinton lizard monster is afraid of the sausage.
All right, wait. What about this? The lizard Clinton has hot sauce in his purse, as we know they do,
She does.
and just eats the sausage. So there you go. Boom, done, over with.
When was the last time Lizard Hillary let Lizard Bill touch her?
Oh, it's got to be about 1997, right? I mean,
Isn't that disrespectful to the hot sauce? I thought she had it always because she always eats hot sauce and only brings it up when she's
with her
around
Mongolian
black
death
people.
worm.
She only brings it up when she's around black people. I don't think it's a defense. I don't think it's a defense. I think it's for consuming food. Lizard food.
i.e.,
With her black lizard
death
friend.
worm is food. It's a delicacy, like pufferfish.
You think she's putting that sausage in her mouth, considering her relationship with Bill?
Listen, I think she's put a few sausages in her mouth. All right, listen, pal.
Look, she's either a lesbian or a hooer. We can't have both.
Why not both? Why not both? All right, I don't know.
She's an early multi-gendered, multi-sexual.
Listen, she's a Lizard Clinton is a trailblazer. Boomer.
Well,
all right. That's
then
what I'm
she
saying.
has lizard AIDS and a compromised immune system, and the poison would destroy her.
But however, knowing this, has been partaking in the adrenochrome provided by one Epstein man. There you go.
I thought you were going to say Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh. All right.
So, Silver, what are you thinking?
More stupid ways. Mongolian deathworm realizing that the lizard man here is in fact Hillary Clinton is like, my gosh, the lizard people exist. And so goes on the social medias, sends it out everywhere, starting the conspiracy theory. Excuse me, what?
Lizard people have 2 eyelids, by the way, but go ahead.
Oh.
Well, Mongolian deathworm makes it known online to the rest of the populace that Hillary Clinton is in fact a lizard person. Conspiracy theory confirmed. And so she's like, oh no, going online trying to cover up her social media presence of like, no, I'm not a lizard person. Their Mongolian deathworm swoops in and kills her.
Listen, I will only accept this if canonically the Mongolian deathworm is Alex Jones and has accused the Sandy Hook parents of being crisis actors.
I will accept that, and I will also point out, in addition to this, that the lizard person of Hillary Clinton canonically is incapable of beating a man.
Oh! Yep, alright. I accept this.
Woo!
Mongolian Jones Deathworm.
Okay,
Okay,
now
Mongolian
it's 2
goes
versus
on.
Jason and a question mark with Silver, who has yet to vote.
I'm of course going Mongolian Deathworm.
Well,
I'm
Yeah!
arguing for Mongolian Deathworm.
Absurd arguments win! Woo!
I still think the Mongolian Deathworm would be toast in this.
It's
but
not
I've
about
marked it down
who would
so that it
win.
moves on.
It's not about who would win. It's about whether or not you can make a compelling argument.
It's about sending a message.
It's about sending a message.
In our next round,
It's sending a message
we will
to
have
Jason.
the Bigfoot. We will have Bigfoot against the Goat Man of Maryland, and so this is the semifinals for the big big final match. And the Beast of Bray Road is going to go up against the Mongolian Deathworm.
Oh.
I so wish the Dover Demon went against our dunking boy.
Our palming a basketball special boy.
When it comes to debate, you lack the capacity for silliness, Silver.
Hey.
I don't know. I saw some compelling evidence brought up by Silver.
The slappy
so.
feet. Yeah.
But that only works for the
Evidence.
one monster that was afraid of loud noises.
Which was your argument.
Yeah.
And we could neither confirm nor deny that this happened on a road, as if there would be a road anywhere nearby.
What if you just gross toes slapping together?
Oh, my God. Ugh. It's gonna make me sick.
Well, Jason, what are you going to leave us with?
Hey, check out the soapbox racing on YouTube. It is wild and it is fun.
Rossovin.
To help assuage my anguish, I rewatched So I Married an Axe Murderer, and what a delightful 90s film.
It is a delightful 90s film.
Do you have
yes,
that when you're being bummed out? There's like certain go-to like comfort films.
Oh,
I'll watch Down Periscope. I'll watch Wayne's World. Wayne's World is one of them. I'll watch
Austin Powers is one for me.
Yeah, not usually my go-to. Usually Wayne's World for me.
Sure, that's fair.
Sign of a Better Time. Austin Powers is a little bit too ridiculous. I feel like I could
that's
hang
part
out
of
with
what I love.
Wayne.
Even the music is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a bit of movies like that. Silver, you're gonna go back to the hole you crawled out of?
Yeah.
I.e. Japan?
Back to the Colosseum that I was
Sleeping
in a ball in.
like a cat.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a lovely podcast hanging out with you people, except for Silver.
She not people.
She's not people. But I'm just going to leave Silver with this. Bop. That's right.
Bop. Here we go. Bop.
Time to get out of here. Thanks for coming along, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.